Hello, this is lesson 11.1.3, Integrated Math 3, adding and subtracting rational expressions. Rational expressions are fractions with a polynomial in the numerator and denominator. And in order to add or subtract a fraction, you always need to have a common denominator. For the first problem, problem 1127a, notice that these two rational expressions that are being added already have a common denominator. Therefore, to simplify these, this is really the same thing as, again, the denominator is already the same, so thinking about rewriting this over one denominator, and now we can add their numerators, which in this case is 2x plus 7. Now, it is important to always check, though, could I potentially simplify this further? The only way to simplify this further is if one of the linear factors of the denominator was the same as the factor in the numerator. So we always want to check that. So we're going to check and factor 2x squared plus x minus 21. And again, we always use the diamond where we multiply the first times the last term, and so we'll get a negative 42 when we multiply the first term times the last term. Then we have to think about it has to add to 1. So what multiplies to 42? 1 times 42, 2 times 21. And I happen to know it's 6 and 7 that also multiply to 42. I know there's a couple other factors, but I knew they had to be close to each other because, again, when they add together, it's going to be 1. So they need to be 1 unit apart, but since it adds to a positive, that means the 6 will be negative. And so I'll factor this by grouping. If we have 2x squared, and then again, we're thinking about the middle term being split into a positive 6x and negative 6x, positive 7x minus 21. And now I can think about factoring the first group. What's the greatest common factor? It's 2x. And what would I have remaining would just be, in this case, x minus 3. And in the second group, the greatest common factor is a positive 7, and I would have to multiply that by x minus 3. So again, this x minus 3 is actually common among these two different terms, and so if I factor that out from each of the terms, I would have 2x plus 7 as one of the factors. And so it was good that we checked this, because now I realize that when I can simplify this further. This is really the same thing as, again, we've got that 2x plus 7 in the numerator, and the denominator can now be factored into x minus 3 times the quantity 2x plus 7. And so notice that each one of these linear factors are the same. Therefore, this finally simplifies into 1 over x minus 3. If we needed to state the exclusions, that in order to say these two things are equivalent, we look at the denominator and say, well, that is true as long as your x value does not equal 3, and as long as your x value does not equal the value that makes this linear factor 0 is negative 7/2.